Hello, my fellow adventurers! This is Mloentje, and welcome back to New World here in Rise of the Angry Earth. In the previous video, it was quite a lengthy one, but there were a lot of artifacts that we need to look into. And I also, now 3 months ago, finally released the continuation of my PvP reward track overview, where we got our hands, of course, on the first artifact that we actually wanted to equip, which is also what's probably gonna be my next video. We are gonna equip this one and see what all the objectives are and how we can upgrade it and what we need to do to get that last perk unlocked. But that's gonna be for next episode, guys. There's one more important one I kind of want to look into before that, and that is the changes into the attribute skill points. As you know, we gone up to gear score 700. We went up to level 65, meaning that we have a lot more talent points now, a lot about more attribute points that we can use. And with those more points, they also made changes to the different perks. As you can see right now, we also have perks at 25 points, 50 points, 100 points, still the same, 150, 200, 250, 300, and 350. So the max amount of points you can stick into one complete line is 500 points. And I think we can get around... We have 220 points available. We got 290 points here, so that's 310. That's 410. We got 40 here. So that's 400. I think we can get, with consumables, around 500 points now, guys. That is a lot. So let's quickly see. Yeah, 500 points, as you can see, is the max amount that you can get. So getting 600 points even. So yeah, 40 and 40 is 80, and then 5, 90. And I'm still, the food I'm using is 10 points short, because there is higher tier food now as well. I think the tier food that you can get now is 48. Plus, my gear is not level 700 completely, so yeah, I think you can get like around max amount, like 600 talent points in total that you can spread out now. So that is a big change as well, guys. And like I said, I kind of wanted to go over all of the minor changes that went into the strength perks and the dexterity and intelligence perks, and kind of give you my train of thought on these changes. So we start with strength here. And with the 25 one, we have 5% light attack damage and then 10% mining speed. So there's always going to be 2 bonuses, and the second bonus is always going to be something for farming, right? So dexterity is going to be skinning speed, we got harvest speed, we got chance to catch larger fish, and we got logging speed. So that is going to remain the same. This one is going to work on the mining, the skinning. So if you want to skin really well or really fast or do better perks with skinning, you kind of want to go into the different trees, right? But the main ones, 5% light attack damage. So actually a pretty important one to get for like all of your builds. Even if you go for like an intellect build, light attack is light attack, whether you do it with a melee weapon or a ranged weapon, or with an intellect weapon like an ice gauntlet, or range, well, it's a ranged weapon, a magical weapon, that's the word I was missing, guys. 5 light plus 5% light damage is actually pretty good. So having 25 points into strength is definitely not a bad thing to do. Again, 50 points into strength, 10% heavy attack damage. You're gonna do heavy attacks with every type of weapon in the game. You're gonna do light attacks with every type of weapon in the game. So maybe getting those 50... Well, except for life staff, because you're not really working on, like, a damage build with life staff. So only for life staff, this is not useful. For every other build, it might actually be useful to get 50 strength now. And this is like... We're only looking at 2 perks right now, but it changes the game on where you're gonna set on your stat points completely differently from all the time we've known New World so far. So here we go into the neat and greedy for the actual melee weapons, right? So at 100 we get 10% physical damage done, and that is only for melee weapons. So that kind of makes sense that it is in the strength category. We get 50% stamina regen rate while exhausted. It's yeah, okay. It's better to get your stamina back really, really fast because there's a lot of exhaust perks out there on a lot of weapons and definitely in PvP. So getting your stamina back, really, really good. But managing your stamina so you never get exhausted is still better. So I'm not real sure what I need to think about it. It's a good perk, but it's no damage increase or decrease, right? And then at 200, we got 10% damage on stunned, slowed, or rooted enemies. So again, a really, really good one if you're going with weapons that can provide a lot of CC to a lot of players, especially PvP and PvE. You can stun, slow, or root in PvE as well. 10% flat damage increase is really, really good. So 200% definitely something you want to go for if you're going melee builds. We got 33% stamina regen rate while performing basic melee attacks. Again, stamina regen rate, guys. I don't know. I really don't know. You usually don't use up stamina if you use light attacks, basic melee attacks. Only when you're using heavy attacks are you consuming stamina. So it would make more sense that you get stamina regen rate while you're doing heavy attacks, not light attacks. But that's just my train of thought. We got 7% base damage while under 90% health. This is good and bad. It's good in a single target, 1 versus 1, or if you want to go like solo play in the open world and you're taking a lot of damage versus a boss or a higher tiered creature you want to defeat. And this is definitely something good, and you can manage this, right? You can try to keep yourself below that 90% to always get that 7% base damage done. But in PvP, most likely you'll be running with a healer. In PvE, Dungeons Expeditions, you'll be running with a healer. So if the healer is not doing his job correctly, you're mostly gonna be above that 90%. So you're not gonna benefit really all that much out of it. So I find this one more of a single player use than a multiplayer use. Or you need to be in the neat and greedy. Like if you are a sword and shield user and you know you're like constantly in a group of 5 players and you're always below 90%, this might be again a good perk to get. And then at the end here, 350 points, 10% base damage increase to abilities and final attacks in the melee light attack chains. So every ability that you do actually gets a 10% base damage increase. That is a huge bonus, guys. So 350 might really be worth it going for. Just sad that the stamina regen rate is in here. The exhausted one seems more useful than we had with the 33% stamina rate while performing basic light attacks. Like, I don't really get why this one is in here. For dexterity, 5% critical hit chance. This is good in any build. For any damage weapon, this is good for any build, guys. So for me personally, I'll show you what I go with my bow. As you can see, this is kind of my range build, but I do have my greatsword in here. Because sometimes a fight does require you to go up and close, and I want to have a melee weapon equipped while I cannot do damage with my ranged weapon, right? So that's kind of why I go greatsword and bow together, and it's kind of it is a ranged build that I'm going for, so it's main dexterity. But later on, I'll show you all the talents that I'm going for that I prefer to run in my build. So on 25 points, 5% critical hit chance, really good for every build, guys. 5% damage while at full health. So if you're not going for the 7% base damage while under 90% health, so let's say you stick with 250 points, it's definitely gonna be good to actually get the 50 points for 5% damage while at full health, especially range players. If you're range and you're not in a neat and greedy at the boss melee swinging him, you have a higher chance to stay at the 100% health. So getting that 5% increased damage constantly is really, really good. 5% damage while stamina is not full. I think this one was in here before, but it was more powerful. I think it was 7.5 or maybe even 10%. That damage increase while stamina was not full. So basically, you always kind of wanna dodge. You wanna make sure that you keep your threshold of. You kind of want to dodge for a bow build anyway, because there's like perks in the bow build. There's gonna be a lot of perks that say after a dodge you do this or do this. So this kind of works into that, right? If you actually dodge and remain your stamina below the 100%, then you're always going to be doing 5% more damage again. So yeah, a lot of 5% critical hit. That's more damage. 5% more damage while at full health. Again, more damage and more damage. So dexterity 3 is looking pretty good. But that was the same with strength, right? We had more damage, more damage, more damage. So up until the 100 perks, as far as we can see it, it's always more damage. So what do we get here? 15% duration to damage over time effect. That is actually pretty good, because that means more damage. If you have a weapon that can provide bleed on targets, or poison on targets, or any kind of debuff that does damage over time, then basically it means you don't need to apply it that much anymore. And you can focus on doing damage with your other abilities. And maybe get that 1 damage perk that does the bleed ability just out of the rotation for 1 more. And actually bring it back in another rotation later on, right? Because the duration is going to be longer. So pretty good. 10% bonus to backstab and headshot damage. Again, more damage in here, guys. So yeah, dexterity 3, damage, 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 damage. So far as we can see it. 250, gain 10% in power for 3 seconds after successfully dodging attack. Again, more damage. Like dexterity is all about getting that more damage. No stamina recovery. Now, we did have at 200 points, I think previously, that dexterity could do 3 dodge rolls, because the dodge roll would consume less stamina. So that has been removed, because people were complaining that dexterity players were having too much mobility in there. And there were even people with sword and shields or with hammers that were actually going more into dexterity, just to be able to dodge 3 times and get out of fights or get into a fight better than other people. Get away from people better than anybody else not working dexterity 3. So they kind of got rid of that 3rd dodge roll there. We've got gain in power for 3 seconds after the dodge roll for 250. At 300, weapon swapping will cleanse all stun and root crowd controlled status effects. 30-second cooldown. So there's even a full cleanse of crowd control status effects in dexterity build, guys. I feel like dexterity is kind of powerful. If you see where I'm going, it's all damage increase and a full cleanse. So if you get in the neat and gritty with, because greatsword actually works, right? Greatsword actually works with dexterity. If you go in the neat and gritty with the dexterity in a PvP fight like OPR, you rush into a base. There's like 5 guys there. You just rush in and you get stunned and switch to your bow, cleanse, and you can just get the hell out of there. But you managed to get in there. You managed to infiltrate, and now players are going to chase after you, meaning that there's going to be less players in that middle circle defending the gate, and everybody else can come in. You see where this is going to be useful, right? And then at the end here, 350, 15% critical chance while empowered. So we're getting empowered, we're getting bonus damage, we're getting 20% increased critical chance, guys. Now, there is an artifact that actually has like 50% increased critical chance, but 50% decreased critical damage. You see where I'm going with this, right? If you equip that artifact with the 20% critical chance on dexterity, and then maybe critical chance on your necklace, and some critical chance from your perks, you can go to 100% critical chance. Meaning every attack that you do is gonna do critical damage. Now your critical damage, because of the artifact, is gonna be lowered with 50%, so it's gonna be less high. So definitely looking forward to seeing players actually try it out and letting me know on YouTube as well, because those are the videos I'm looking for. I'm not the one to make build videos and test everything out and go into like the itty gritty little numbers. While I'm doing that right now, I know, but it feels like there's gonna be some insane builds out there. Intelligence, 5 damage increase to backstabs and random crits. Again, still useful for even for melee. So going 25 points into intelligence, not bad. 5% damage increase to targets inflicted with damage over time effect. 50 points can work for everybody, even melees. A rapier, a spear with bleeds, damage over time. The bow with its poisons, damage over time. 5% increase to that. The burns, 5% damage increase, guys. So 50 points into intelligence overall for every damage that brings out those dots. Not bad. really not bad. 10% damage to light and heavy elemental attacks. So if you have an elemental gem in your weapon, basically that means that the elemental damage from your weapon is going up by 10%. So 100 points in intelligence can work for every build. Like I said, guys, the diversity on where you can invest your points now is so good. You can make so much different builds and so much different. Like, of course there's gonna be best. In a game like an MMO, there's always gonna be best in slot. The best perks to pick, the best talent points to pick. There's gonna be a max amount of damage that you can get out of your build, always. But the diversity here is really, really cool. It's really, really cool. Then we go higher, 15% elemental damage, 10% mana on critical hits. Now, getting extra mana, I find it useless. There's consumables for that, guys. If you're really, really having struggles with mana, there's consumables. Just use them. 30% duration to applied damage over time effects. So a 30% increase to dots. Every dot. The bleed, the burns, the freezes. Really, really good, guys. 250 points, though. That is a long way in. To actually think about, like, man, might go like 250 strength, 250 intelligence. But then you're missing out on a lot of the dexterity, extra damages. Then you're missing out on constitution, right? So it's gonna be hard to pick out what you actually want. We got 307% damage to targets below 50% health. Really, really good to finish off those players in PvP, guys. And if you're fighting a boss that has a lot of health, 50% health, if it takes a long time to get to 50% health, it's gonna take a long time to get below 50% health. But if you can start doing 7% more damage to him because he's below 7% health, again, really useful to finishing them off. And then 10% ability damage. So all abilities that you do get 10% increased ability damage at 350. So that leaves not a lot of room to work with other. If we do the math, 600 points, you got 250 points left to invest in other perks. So you could go 100 in con and 150 in dex, for instance, which will lead you on the duration of damage over time effects, or you could go 100 damage stamina on full and then go for the 50 for the heavy attack damage. Like, you see where I'm going. Like, oh, this is just incredible. Now even focus has a meaning in every set out there. Just for the 25 points, guys. 5% ability cooldown reduction. There is now a restriction on how many refreshes you can take into your gear. For instance, if you go... I don't know if I have it here. Let's quickly check. Yeah, here you can see refreshing. Reduces the max cooldowns by 3.8%. Perk stacks 5 out of 4 over max. So one of my refreshings that I have is just not activating. Because you can only get 4. Because you only can get 4, this talent point in focus, the 5 ability cooldown reduction, becomes really useful. Because that kind of... It's only 3.8 for one refresh. This is 5%. Like, that's 1.2% more than you can get from a refresh. So you can get that from the 25 points in focus. Incredible ability. 10% incoming healing, even for a tank. Really good perk here. Like, if you're, like, in the nitty-gritty, like I said, you're facing the boss, or you're going in OPR with sword and shield, and you want to bust down that door, or in a war, you want to bust down that door, and you got a pocket healer on yourself, 10% incoming healing, guys, for 50 points in focus. That can work on any build. You're gonna leave out points anywhere else, though, but you're not gonna die as fast, because the healing incoming is gonna be increased on you. 20% max mana and 20% mana regen rate, plus 50 encumbrance. The max mana, yeah, the mana regen rate, again, not really necessary. You've got mana potions, use them properly, guys, and you will never run out of mana. Especially as a healer, I don't find the only heal, if I can really spam out my, where the hell is it? Let's go, character. So let's, for instance, say I'm always using Divine Embrace, or I'm lately using Divine Embrace. Let's say I have the perk. The perk of Divine Embrace says if I heal a target below 50% health, the cooldown is reduced by 0.0 seconds. It basically means I can get my Divine Heal back instead of the 5.1 seconds that it says here into 1.22 seconds. If I can keep spamming that one, I'm gonna run out of... But Sacred Ground lasts for a long time on the ground. Beacon lasts for a long time on the ground. So, I'm not losing any mana while Beacon is up, while Sacred Ground is up. So the only reason I'm using mana is Divine Embrace, and maybe because I'm spamming it. So you see where I'm going with this, right? Again, it's not really necessary to get mana regen rate in there. Now, 20% outgoing healing effectiveness, really, really good, guys. That is definitely, like, you want this for your heal build. 20% buff duration, so if you give any Fortify to any player, because there's a couple perks in there that gonna give Fortify to you, especially with Flail and Shield. Flail and Shield, a lot of buffs you can give to your friendlies there. 20% increase in all the buffs, guys. That is tremendous. And then if we look at the Flail itself, the last perks, Deflective Frailty Skills with Focus, increasing its duration up to 12 seconds. The 12 seconds is for this perk. It's not included with the 20%. The 20% goes on top of this. So 20% is 1/5. That means it's going to be 13, 14 seconds that this is going to last instead of the 12 seconds here. And then we got same here. Crowd control immunity skills with focus. Increased duration to 5 seconds. 5 seconds is going to be 6 seconds. Crowd control immunity for everybody. 6 seconds. Like that is what I mean, right? And then there is a bunch of other abilities in here that are gonna stack on top of that. So definitely a really, really good perk. Then this one I'm not really sure. Like I don't really get it. It's 250 points. Skills grant stacks of blast, increasing outgoing healing by 1% per stack for 20 seconds. Kills and group kills grants a stack of blast, increasing outgoing healing by 1% stack per 20 seconds. Personal kills grants 2 stacks. Group AI kills grants 1 stack. Max 15 stacks. So it's basically a 15% increased healing that you're gonna do. But it is, if other players kill the target if other players are in your group and they kill the target, it's 1 stack. If you're playing solo and you're not getting any kills, this does not apply to you. Now I do have to say, guys, you can hit a rabbit and it applies. Like a rabbit is a one shot, it applies. So in OPR, I'm usually running between 8 and 12 stacks if I'm in a prolonged fight. Getting to 15 stacks, I need good players in my group. I need players who kill. I cannot say how it's gonna be for raids though. Haven't really played raids. I should actually go on a couple chest runs, but I've been way too busy to go on chest runs, so can't really say if I can get to the max 15 stacks. But it's actually a really good perk, but it's kind of it's not in your control as a healer, because you're kind of depending on other people to actually get this buff up. And then grants 20 Fortify for 10 seconds when healing allies while your health is at or above mana is 50%. So this is basically constantly. It's constantly that you are getting every time you heal a character. If you throw a light attack through a crowd, it's healing. It's only for me it's like 360 healing that it does, but it's 360 healing. So that 20% Fortify just by throwing a light attack through a crowd that might actually have like 50% health loss, that is gonna be 20% Fortify. So in OPR, I'm constantly having 20% Fortify, and I don't need to do anything for that Fortify. Just throw a light attack. That's it. So that's a really, really nice one. Definitely for PvE and for PvE. And then 350 reduces ability cooldowns by 20% of their max duration upon activating a Heart Rune ability. Now, I'm a klutz when it comes to this, because I 99% of the time forget I actually have a Heart Rune in this game. I have to be honest, guys. 99% of the time, I actually forget that I have a Heart Rune. Except when I'm playing DPS. When I'm playing DPS, I got like that spin kick that does... I'm really not sure what the name is, but then I send out like a wave of fire. I love that one, and I never forget it. well, I might forget it sometimes, but I hardly forget it. When I'm playing healer and I have my stone skin, I 99% of the time forget it. Or I just don't have the chance. Like, if I do remember, like, I got stone skin, oh, let's use the elusive. Yeah, no, I'm dead before I can use it. So, I'm not really good, but if you can use it and you can lower all your cooldowns, instantly getting all your heals back up so you can start healing again and refreshing those heals, definitely a really good ability. Like, really, really good ability. But yeah, you gotta remind yourself that you actually have it, right? And then Constitution, the last one, guys. All health consumables are 10% stronger. So definitely a good one. Like, that's 25 points. You definitely want to get that one every time. Even if you go a full damage build, guys, I think all health consumables are 10% stronger is definitely something everybody wants to go for. 10% physical armor when at or above 50% health. This is only good when you have a lot of armor. So the more armor, light loadout, probably not one of the best perks to get. Medium loadout, it can start to benefit you, but heavy loadout, it's definitely gonna be like the best that where you can benefit from, right? The more armor you get. Kind of makes sense. Increase max health by 10%. Now, there are some big changes to health, of course, because what was it? Holy crap, the perk you wanted for... I already forget. Resilient? Resilient has been changed into health. And basically, health is what you want on all pieces of your gear. Unless you're like that top 1% that can go with 5,000 health and solo expeditions, most people will be more comfortable playing New World with health perks on their gear. So increasing max health again with 10% on top of the health perks that you have on your armor is definitely a good increase. I think in total for me in light loadout with 3 health perks, this was like 1,300, 1,400 increased health. Now, that might not sound like a lot, but in a fight, and definitely PvP fight, that 1,200 might actually save your life. If you are good enough, or, well, careful enough. We got Constitution, 150, 10% critical damage taken. And this is the perk I go for when I go into PvP, guys. So OPR, 10% critical damage taken, less damage taken, is definitely always a perk. If you want to go PvP, I go for this one. Like, I notice significantly if I only take 100 points or if I take 150 points, the damage is the change in damage. It's only 10% lower, but the change in damage is real. You definitely notice it. Then 10% at 200, we got increase to physical and elemental armor. Again, it's more armor, so if you don't have a lot of armor in light loadout, even in a medium loadout or a low medium loadout, then you're not gonna see the difference. If you have a high medium loadout or if you have a heavy loadout, then definitely gonna see more physical and elemental armor on that one, right? We got a 60% damage reduction when at full health. This can save your life, guys. Like, if somebody's coming in and he's gonna do like the biggest damage hit on you that you can take, that's gonna be 60% reduced. So this one is a lifesaver. But spending 250 points is a lot. That means you only have 350 points left for whatever you want to build into your build, right? Now, for healers, that is actually perfect, because it reduces the ability cooldown, 350 points, right? But I'd rather go for 400 healing and get more healing done than actually get this perk. But I kind of want to see. I kind of need to test it out in OPR, how much HP I can actually get from this. And then basic melee attacks gain grit, 300. So actually going like 300 strength, 300 constitution might not be bad. Basic melee attacks gain grit, definitely for PvP. You cannot be stopped anymore, or at least stunned anymore. Definitely good, right? Definitely good. And then the last one, 10% damage reduction while you have active grit, guys. So if you have the basic melee attacks gain grit, you get 10% damage reduction while you have active grit. 10% chance. So yeah, there we go, guys. All the changes into the perks, guys, and it is looking incredible. Now, for me in my range build, like I said before, I'm going for the 5% ability cooldown reduction. I'm going for the 50 points into intellect, simply to get the 5% damage increase to backstab and random crits, and to get the damage increase to targets inflicted with a damage over time effect. Because with the bow, I'm inflicting a lot of burns, so I'm definitely doing damage over time there. So yeah, 5% increased damage if they are inflicted. Hell yes. Constitution, I tend to go to 100. Simply put, I want that extra health. If I go PvE, then like dungeons, I might actually only go for the 50. But most players that are really good, they would only go for 25 in PvE. Because the more damage you do, the faster you can clear the mobs, the less constricting it is for the healer to heal you, for the tank to actually get everything done. But overall, I play a lot of solo play, guys. So I tend to go for 100 con here. That's my solo play range build. If I go invasions, guys, I basically go completely 0 on Constitution. Like, I know everybody's has my back. For strength, I go for the 50 points. I want 5 light attack damage and I want 10% heavy attack damage. The physical damage is not really required for me in my bow build. Now, I am using a great sword, so in that perspective, maybe going for the 100 would not be too bad. But it's 50 points that I give up. And that leaves me only, you see here, 282. And that's why I usually go like this. And I go like this. And that way... Okay, let's do it like this. And like this. Now, I am missing some points. Like I said, there is food buffs out there, guys. So, definitely need to use those to increase... I think it's Constitution and Dexterity that I can do. There are food buffs now, or there are new food consumables that have 48 points. And I'm still missing points that I can get from my gear itself. Because all my gear is not level 700 yet. So, I don't get the max amount of points out there as well. So I could make a build like this, going for 100 strength, 350 dex, 50 intellect to actually get the damage over time increase, get the ability cooldown, get the physical armor a little bit above, but get all health consumables 10% stronger, and then actually go for the 10% physical damage. That is basically what I run in my builds. But I've been addicted as idle, guys. I've been talking for 32 minutes straight. I do have to say my cheek is not as swollen anymore. It's almost back to normal. But my jaw still hurts like hell. So I'm gonna wrap this episode up here. Sit my ass down, guys. And start recording the next episode. Yeah, like, it's going... Like I said, I missed 5 days of recording time. I wanted to bring out 2 episodes a day. And this weekend, I'm gonna need to catch up on all of them. So I've got a lot of work to do. Like I said, I'm gonna wrap it up here. If you want to see more of my quest progression, my Let's Play here in New World, me going over all the changes like I'm doing now in the past couple of videos, or any other game I might be playing now or in the future, and that's actually going to Starfield, because Starfield is a little bit on the back burner right now, guys. New World has always been a game that I love. Like, I said this before about Destiny, but Destiny is kind of now a little bit out of the picture for me, because... I don't know. I don't really like going for... They change their weapons too much. That's kind of something I feel. Like, an assault rifle is an assault rifle, and having like 1 extra perk that does like 2% extra damage is not... I'm not the optimized guy out there. I just play what I think is like right and what I think is good enough for me to play the game. And I don't want to be that, like, super optimized guy that needs every weapon in the game. Well, yeah, sometimes I am that guy. Actually, I'm a MMO player, so I kind of go for all the loot. But I don't know what it is with Destiny right now. I love the story still. I still love the story. But I'm not enjoying the game time. New World, I've always enjoyed the game time. Even if I had to record other games like V Rising... When V Rising approached, New World was a little bit of a back burner for me. But I'm yakking on, guys. I'm yakking on. I love New World. I love Destiny. I love all games. Even if they go on the back burner for a little bit. I will be back with Starfield in a little while. But for now, we have a lot of New World still to cover. So, hope you enjoyed this episode. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.